Hey everyone, and welcome back to this class. In this lecture, I want to make a quick note that every example in this course will be done in both Theano and Tensorflow. So what does this mean and why are things this way? To give you a little bit of a history lesson, Theano is the ancestor of all deep learning libraries that exist today. The deep learning libraries that are popular today were heavily inspired by Theano, which came with notable features such as GPU acceleration and automatic differentiation. Now, Theano was and still is a great tool for learning deep learning, because the syntax in Theano looks a lot like what you see in NumPy. So if you can code in NumPy, you can code in Theano without much extra effort. In addition, because a lot of other deep learning libraries are newer, they don't yet have some of the features that Theano has. So if you want to do something really specific, you might be stuck with coding it in Theano. Theano is very first principles based. What that means is you can take your math equation, and when you're trying to implement that in code, in Theano, what you see in code is very similar to the math. In newer libraries like Tensorflow, this is often not the case. Instead, what you end up doing a lot of the time is you have some equation and you know how you do it in NumPy, but when you try the same thing in Tensorflow, it doesn't work. So what you then have to do is you have to search through Tensorflow's documentation to find the right function for the thing you're trying to do. And sometimes that function doesn't exist. So what can you do about this? Well, truthfully, oftentimes the answer is nothing. But despite how awesome Theano is, development of the library has stopped. And so originally, when these courses were built, Theano was the best library to build them in, because not only did it have all the necessary features, it allowed you to build things using first principles rather than having to look through documentation to find the right name for the right function. So it was nice to do things in Theano, and today, you can still do things in Theano if you so choose. Luckily, development on other popular deep learning libraries is happening at a rapid pace. TensorFlow seems to be releasing a new version monthly. Of course, it's got Google behind it, and we know that Google isn't going anywhere. They also care a lot about productionization of machine learning code, because Google's machine learning systems have to serve results to real users. And so you can feel confident that if your company wants to productionize its machine learning code, that TensorFlow is a safe choice. Recently, Twitter is one example of a company who's made this decision. And so, to make a long story short, every code example in this course will be done in both Theano and TensorFlow. If you don't care about Theano, then you can safely skip those lectures, because the equivalent lecture will also be done in TensorFlow. If you care about both, then you can watch both. Remember that the general pattern we're going to follow in this course is going from theory to code. So first, we discuss theory, which means new concepts, new equations, new algorithms, and so forth. Next, we implement that theory in code. So in this lecture, there will be no new concepts, no new algorithms, and no new equations. We simply implement what we talked about in the previous lecture. So normally, it would just be one code lecture, but in the case where we have Theano, then it's going to be both a Theano lecture and a TensorFlow lecture, both implementing the same thing.